Episode 17. Value your time, skills, and effort. Aum Namapegavaith Vasudevya. Imagine this. A renowned architect is invited to speak at a prestigious global conference. His presentation lasts only 25 minutes. When the organizers hand him the honorarium, a young attendee whispers to his friend, 25 minutes, and he earned that much. The elderly conference chairman overhears the conversation. He smiles and quietly replies, "My young friend, you are not paying him for 25 minutes. You are paying him for the 30 years it took him to make 25 minutes so valuable." Silence fills the room. That one sentence reveals one of life's greatest truths. The world often sees the performance. It rarely sees the preparation. People admire the success. They rarely witness the sacrifice. If you want to build a life where your time is respected, your knowledge is valued, and your contribution creates lasting impact, stay with me until the very end. Because today's principle has shaped the world's greatest professionals, leaders, and creators. Many people underestimate the value of what they possess, not because it lacks worth, but because it comes naturally to them. Imagine standing beside a river every day. Eventually, you stop noticing its beauty. Someone visiting for the first time stands in amazement. The same thing happens with your talents, your knowledge, your experience, your wisdom. What feels ordinary to you may be life-changing for someone else. The Bhagavad Gita teaches that every individual has a unique dharma, a unique responsibility, a unique contribution. No two people are given exactly the same gifts. The question is not, do I have value? The question is, am I honoring the value already entrusted to me? Jim Rohn wisely said, "Don't wish it were easier. Wish you were better." Read that again. The marketplace doesn't reward effort alone. It rewards value. The more problems you can solve, the more opportunities naturally begin finding you. Imagine a master carpenter. His tools appear simple. His movements appear effortless. A customer watches him build a beautiful table in only 2 hours. It looked so easy. The customer says. The carpenter smiles. It became easy. After 25 years of practice, mastery always appears simple, until you attempt it yourself. Let me tell you a story. A young graphic designer had extraordinary talent, yet she constantly accepted work far below her value. She feared losing clients. She feared hearing the word no. One day, her mentor asked her a simple question. When someone pays less than your work is worth, who loses? The designer. She replied. The mentor gently shook his head. No. The client loses too, because they never truly learn to respect excellence. That conversation changed her career. She stopped competing on price. She began competing on value. Her income grew. But something even more important happened. So did her confidence. If today's message reminds you that your gifts deserve to be respected, pause for a moment and write one word in the comments. Value. Because people often treat us the way we first teach them to treat us. Now here's something fascinating. Behavioral psychologists have found that people often undervalue what is familiar to them, while overvaluing what they do not possess. This explains why many talented people underestimate themselves. They compare their behind the scenes with someone else's highlight reel. Stop comparing. Start improving. Benjamin Franklin wisely observed, "Time is money." In reality, time is even more valuable than money. Money lost can often be earned again. Time never returns. Every hour invested in learning improves every hour that follows. Every skill developed continues paying dividends for decades. Imagine planting an orchard. The first few years require patience, watering, pruning, protection. People walking past may wonder, why so much effort? Years later, the orchard feeds generations. Skills work exactly the same way. Learning always feels expensive, until compared with the cost of ignorance. In today's boardrooms, the highest paid professionals are rarely those who work the hardest physically. They are often the people who solve the most difficult problems. Decision makers, strategists, innovators, leaders. Their value comes from judgment developed over years, not hours worked today. Peter Drucker reminded leaders that knowledge has become the world's most valuable resource. Machines can be purchased, buildings can be constructed, capital can be raised, but wisdom must be earned. Chanakya advised that education and skill are forms of wealth that cannot easily be stolen. Money may disappear, titles may change, markets may fluctuate, but the person who continually develops their abilities always carries lasting wealth within themselves. There is another mistake many people quietly make. They generously give away their time, their expertise, their emotional energy to everyone, until nothing remains for their own family, their own dreams, or their own growth. Generosity is beautiful, but wisdom creates healthy boundaries, because what is given freely should still be given intentionally. But here's where everything changes. Imagine a magnificent lighthouse standing on the edge of a rocky coast. Every night, its light guides countless ships safely to shore. But imagine if the keeper never maintained the lamp, never cleaned the glass, never replaced the oil. Eventually, the light would fade, not because the lighthouse had lost its purpose, but because it had neglected itself. Many people live exactly this way. They spend years helping everyone else, while forgetting to invest in themselves. The greatest service you can offer the world is becoming the best version of yourself. The Bhagavad Gita reminds us that excellence in one's own duty is greater than imitation of another's path. Your responsibility is not to become someone else. Your responsibility is to become the highest version of who God created you to be. That requires protecting your time, developing your skills, respecting your effort, and continually growing in wisdom. If today's message reminds you that your greatest investment is yourself, write one word in the comments. Grow. Because when you grow, everyone connected to you benefits. There is another lesson from nature. Have you ever seen an eagle preparing to fly? Before it soars thousands of feet above the earth, it strengthens its wings. It waits for the right wind. It chooses the right moment. Preparation always comes before elevation. Yet many people want extraordinary results without extraordinary preparation. Life doesn't work that way. The harvest always follows the season of cultivation. There is another misunderstanding about valuing yourself. Some people think charging fairly for their expertise is selfish. It isn't. Imagine visiting a skilled surgeon. Would you want the cheapest one, or the most competent one? When someone's knowledge can solve years of pain in a few hours, you are not paying for the hours. You are paying for the years that made those hours possible. That principle applies to every profession. A teacher, an engineer, an artist, a consultant, a craftsman, an entrepreneur. True value is created long before it is recognized. Warren Buffett once observed that the best investment you can make is in yourself. Markets rise. Markets fall. Currencies fluctuate. Technology changes. But knowledge, character, and wisdom continue appreciating when you keep developing them. In today's boardrooms, the professionals who become indispensable aren't the busiest people. They are the people who consistently create value. They solve problems others avoid. They remain calm during uncertainty. They communicate clearly. They learn continuously. While others compete on price, they compete on excellence. That is why they become trusted advisors rather than ordinary employees. Chanakya taught that learning should continue throughout life because knowledge multiplies every other form of wealth. One new skill can open 10 new opportunities. One meaningful relationship can transform an entire career. One wise decision can change the direction of an entire family. Never underestimate the compound interest of personal growth. History quietly confirms this truth. The greatest musicians practiced when nobody applauded. The greatest athletes trained before sunrise. The greatest inventors spent years solving problems no one else could see. The greatest spiritual masters devoted decades to self-discipline before they began guiding others. The world celebrates the masterpiece. Heaven witnesses the preparation. There is another conversation we must have. How often do you say, "I don't have time"? The truth is, we all receive the same 24 hours. The difference lies in priorities. Time does not disappear. It gets exchanged. Every hour invested in distractions is an hour not invested in your future. Every hour invested in learning improves every future decision. Every hour spent strengthening your character becomes an invisible advantage that follows you for life. Before you begin tomorrow, ask yourself one simple question. Did I spend my time today? Or did I invest it? That single question, repeated every evening, can quietly transform your future. If today's episode reminded you that your time, skills, and effort are gifts entrusted to you by the divine, subscribe and continue this journey with us. Every episode is designed to help us grow in wisdom, character, and purposeful leadership. Share this episode with someone who constantly undervalues themselves, because one conversation can awaken a lifetime of confidence and excellence. Together, let us become better individuals, build stronger families, create a better society, and leave behind a better world for future generations. Remember, protect your time, sharpen your skills, respect your effort, never apologize for excellence. Continue learning, continue serving, continue growing. Because the world does not simply reward those who work harder. It ultimately rewards those who create greater value. May we replace distraction with discipline. Replace comparison with continuous improvement. Replace self-doubt with quiet confidence. Replace wasted time with meaningful investment. May every hour become an opportunity to grow, every skill become a blessing to others, and every effort become an offering to the divine as we fulfill our dharma with excellence, humility, and purpose. Aum Namah Bhagavath Vasudevaya.